these two gentlemen, we're all veterans. Andrew and I served in Vietnam and met about 12 years ago. And, I didn't never deal with my shit from coming home. I never told anybody I've been in Boulder since I got home. And I got home in '69. I got here probably late '70, early '71, somewhere around there. And I lived between here and Ned in a teepee and bathed in Boulder Creek and had hair down to my butt and a beard down to here and tried to figure out what I had just done, quite honestly. And so it was an interesting time for sure, but this place has been a real safe haven for me. And so I have this great community now. Probably in the last 10 or 12 years, Andrew and I ended up going to the vet center, and they supposedly do, therapy to help people that come home after they've been in places where they've shot people and done horrible shit. So we don't talk about this stuff, and I hope, this class, it being a methods class, I hope that maybe you guys talk about that kind of stuff and realize that it's in your lap now, and I don't mean to be, it's not a negative thing, it's a positive thing, because I think we need to pay attention and the fact that you guys are even taking this class, number one, makes me realize that you're a little more conscious than I was. I drank the Kool-Aid, I believed everything I was told. So, so that's number one. Number two is that, you're sitting here and you showed up for this class knowing that some old Vietnam vet was going to talk. So that's pretty cool. And I've done a bunch of classes with Viet over the years, and I just think it's just honored to do it. And one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you guys about, and they know we're going to open up the floor to me, right? So you guys can ask me questions, so you can ask me stuff. But I'm just going to go through really kind of quickly and give you a little bit of a brief history of who I am and how I, part of my life, the evolution of my life brought me to join the Marine Corps. And I grew up in this family in upstate New York, and we were pretty well off, and actually got sent to military school. I went with your fearless guy who wants to be the leader again. He and I were classmates, and so I went to that. I did that dance. So and I was a very stupid kid. At least I felt stupid. I flunked 7th grade, and then I flunked 8th grade. So I'm like 19 years old, and I'm going into my junior year of high school. And
what year is this?
This is 1966.
Okay.
And I was born in '46, so I would have been 20 in November. But I went to a funeral for a cousin of mine and another cousin of mine who was my welding buddy. He and I had, he had an arc welder, old rod arc welder, and an oxyacetylene. So I learned how to do that stuff because I took shop and learned, but we also had, these gals are welders, so I'm kind of talking to them. But anyway, so he shows up at the funeral in dress blues. And he had just got out of boot camp in the Marine Corps. And so I looked at that and I thought, oh, that's pretty snazzy. And so Monday or Tuesday after that funeral, I joined the Marine Corps. I went down, of course I'm 19, so I could join at 18. I joined the Marine Corps and quit high school. So I came home and said, oh, by the way, I quit high school. I'm going in the Marine Corps. And so I did. And being a wrench and being a mechanic, and I joined for 4 years so that they would send me to school. They did. They sent me to NAS Memphis. I became a jet mechanic, helicopter mechanic, and an aircraft inspector. So that's what I did for the Marine Corps. And my first trip was down, I got onto an aircraft carrier and I went down to Guantanamo Bay out in Cuba in 1967. I think you guys ever studied in history in Cuba in 1967. So, and then I went on to Puerto Rico, flew Noriega around, Coke dealer, he and LBJ were buddies, so it didn't matter. So that's the kind of stuff that I saw, okay? And I was this young kid, very naive, very, didn't know. Really don't know. And
Can I just ask, so when you joined in 1966, the Vietnam War is going on, like full blast, right? So did you think about that
No.
as a possibility?
because, like, I never really watched the news, and, we didn't have cell phones, and we didn't have, internet, so I didn't know where it was in the world. I mean, I really didn't know. And, so anyway, so I come back from that cruise, and I get my orders to go to Vietnam. And of course, I fly out, I go on leave for 25 days, go home, get on an airplane, fly to San Diego, go to Pendleton, get trained there. I'm all alone on this plane now. So I go to Pendleton, get trained a little more infantry stuff, and I go to Okinawa, and then I get dropped off in Vietnam today. And my first day in country, I got off the airplane at probably 4 or 5 in the morning, and they put me in another plane, helicopter, and they send me out to Phu Bai, which is a little bit north of Da Nang. I landed in Cardamon initially, and I get sent to Quai Son to retrieve an airplane. The first day in country, they hand me a Lone Star cheese, and I didn't know where I was. I had no idea. I'm flying over South China Sea. I see the sand. I grew up in the Adirondacks of New York State. No clue. The smell is different. Everything's different. I'm one of the older guys there. I come over there, I'm 21. I'm one of the old guys. Everybody else is 17. So, anyway, so I did I ended up there 15 months. I flew over 600 missions.
So describe for us, like, what exactly was your job again? You're a helicopter?
Yeah, I'm the mechanic that keeps the aircraft running, and I'm the chief mechanic that keeps the aircraft running. So it's actually my bird, and that plane doesn't go anywhere without me. So there's 2 of us that crew in the belly, 2 pilots, 2 guys on the belly, the crew chief and the gunner, and we got 2 M60s. They're 50 cal wouldn't work on those birds because it would shake them apart. So so I was a machine gunner and mechanic, and so we flew everything. We flew resupply missions, flew mail runs once in a while, and medevac. So here I am, this young kid. Don't know I'm not corpsman. I'm not a medic. I'm just a guy running an airplane. And I got, to get the word and pick up somebody that blew them apart. I got to try to keep that person alive. It's an interesting gig that we don't talk about quite much. And most of us that come home from it never talk about it. And it took me, I showed up at the VA maybe 10 or 12 years ago. First time I've ever been there. 1972, active duty right around 1970. So 1970 to probably 2010 is the first time I ever showed up. They do take care of me, I have to say. I'm very grateful for the care I got. But one of my questions that I was thinking about to just kind of throw out there and food for thought is, does it ever even enter your mind about veterans and war? And what do you think Do you think that a vet comes home, has it ever entered your mind, do they come home the same as they left? You know, is it even something that even is in your, you know, in your thinking pattern? And if you do think that, do they heal, and how do they heal? It's to me, it's just I don't know. I thought I was fine, quite honestly. You know, because I wasn't a drinker. I was just don't drink, you know, but I wasn't a drinker, and I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was okay. I kind of hit out, and then I don't know. All of a sudden, all these memories and started coming back up, and I got in a pretty dark place. And quite honestly, I didn't think I wanted to even be here anymore. So I'm grateful for this. I get to hang out with my fellow vets, and quite frankly, today there's a lot of women coming out. And some of our best welders out in the sculpture are leaving. There was no bullshit me giving you those cards, okay? But sorry, I got into a
You're fine. You're fine.
But anyway, so you know, it was a helicopter war. We had 12,000 veterans served as crew members of helicopters, and we went through 5,000 helicopters. I went through 4. And then I got this amazing crew. You guys ever seen the Carousel of Happiness up in Ned? There's a carousel up there, and you really should. And there's a buddy of ours, Woodall, and he was a Marine in Vietnam, and he got pretty messed up. And when he got injured, 2 of his buds got taken out. So he made that into kind of a memorial, but he made it into the carousel of happiness, not carousel of, you know, doom and gloom. So it's really a positive up place. We all go up there for Veterans Day, Memorial Day, we do, you know. And I had a buddy call me about a year and a half ago. Must have Googled my last name. My wife and I have a real estate company here in town, so he came up with the number, but she's the boss, so he ended up calling her, leaving a voicemail saying, hey, you know, this is a strange question, but if you happen to know Ben Cardamon, I haven't talked to him in over 50 years, would you give him my number? And this is Wayne Midget. Well, anyway, he and I served in Vietnam. I called him up. We talked for 2 hours. He came out here last summer and worked on the sculpture and wrote on the carousel. And then we realized that Scott, who made the carousel, when he got injured, got medevac by my squadron. We don't know if it was me or not, but in a small world, I met him in Ed. I didn't meet him in Vietnam. Pretty cool. And so that's what's going on. And I don't mean, this is not a negative thing. I have to say, I feel amazing. You know, I take really good care of myself. You know, I do this, and I think it's really healthy. I think it's, you know, I hang out with my buds. We work on this welding project, and you guys would be blown away by the size of this thing. And
I'll show you pictures, and I'll show you some pictures of it. So the sculptures he's talking about are these massive metal sculptures of a phoenix and a dragon. But let's go back for a moment to Vietnam. So tell me about like the day to day. So you flew these helicopter missions of varying kinds. In between, like, are you what's it like?
You're working on the aircraft. You're trying to keep it running. You know, we were in different places. When I was there January of '68 to March of '69. So at that point, where the different branches were. The Marines were typically Da Nang north at that point. Army was a little bit further south, running from Marble Mountain south, and so it was before that it got really crazy around when Andrew got there in 70, 71 time. It was we would take a place and then we would give it back. It was kind of a weird way and the thing that really kind of irked me, and I didn't know it at the time, was when I saw the history of how we ran that war and who was really running it and sitting at a table in the Oval Office and designing battles that you don't, first of all, you're not a military person, so you don't understand battles. Second of all, you're in Washington, D.C. We're in Vietnam. Sorry, no shit. And so that really kind of was frustrating. But we would work on our airplane, keep our plane running, and there were times when we also did everything else, like burning the burn pits they call it, and the Iraqi, Afghani, the different terms. I mean, deployment and all that. And we never talked about deployment, but but it's the same thing. It's just a different jargon. But we, you were hanging out, and if we weren't, sometimes if we actually had a day like somebody else, you we weren't flying all day, we could go off and we could go hide in a bunker, get baked. I'm serious. It was, good weed over there.
What was the general sentiment among the Marines that you worked with, among people on helicopters? What did people think about the war? Did they think about the war, or was it just sort of day to day? Or
some of us did towards the end, starting to see through the stuff. And the interesting part about being in the airline is that you're up in the air. You're seeing the war from a different perspective than Andrew did, being boots on the ground. So if you're on the ground, all you see is where you are. Flying, I got to see. I mean, a lot of times we fly treetop level because if we got too high, we get blown out of the sky. So we're flying low, but you see things that. I mean, one of the things that I really saw, I was raised a Catholic boy, and nothing got that, but for me it didn't work, and the altar boy and all that kind of stuff. When I got over there and I saw their relationship with whatever they called it, spirit or whatever, it was one-on-one. It was them. They were the sweetest people. Here we are in their country, killing them, and they were some of the nicest people on the planet. And so. I mean, it's just kind of weird stuff, and so we thought about this. I'm on base because I go back to the base with actually a metal floor that we could taxi our aircraft on and that kind of stuff, and we actually had an outhouse. I mean, we were just shitting in the woods, and we actually had sometimes water. I mean, these guys didn't have any water, and then you have to drink out of the rice paddy or someplace, and you're going to get sick because it's pretty toxic stuff. And so I got to be on a base, and so except during the monsoon, I could actually sleep in a cot sometimes. I mean, all the times I would sleep in my bird. I had this little plastic hammock that I bought somewhere in Da Nang for like $2 or not even, and I sleep in that.
So did you have any conflict or any contact, or what kind of contact with Vietnamese, with either people who were working with the army?
Yeah, because they'd come into the base, they'd work on, they'd help us. They, they did a lot of our food stuff. They did, because I was on like a base,
right?
Different than being a boots on the ground guy. Those guys, they're hoping that they could enjoy their sea rations or find something. I mean, I ate monkey over there. I mean, I ate stuff that I never thought I'd ever eat. And I mean, just different critters over there and stuff, and whole different world. And but the people I really liked the people, and I really felt that the country was absolutely gorgeous and smelled different. And you think about it, I mean, because you had big snakes, you had big tigers and lions, and I mean things that
that are not in the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
Right. So so then you eventually you're done. Your tour of duty is done in Vietnam, and you come back to the States. Are you done with the military, or do you still have?
No, I still had about a year and a half to do active, and then for some reason they screwed up our MOS is for what our job is. My job, was 6311. I don't know. When I went reported back to New River after I had leave from Vietnam, I said, "You go on and you're going to tell me what I'm going to do, right?" So I report there. And I said, "So what's my next assignment?" And they go, "Well, we have a couple of things you could do." And I said, "Oh, really?" And I'm just sitting there. I'm not going to say anything. Let them know. They said you could be a hams guy, which takes care of all the big maintenance on the aircraft, so the motor changes, rotor head changes, Anyway, I said, "Or what else?" And they said, "Well, you could be a mailman." I said, "I'll be a mailman." So I had to take my test with the post office, even though I was in the military, I still had to do it. And I sold stamps and money orders and went to mailboxes and picked up mail for my last. I got out just about the end of '69. They came to me and they said, "We don't have any use. We can't send you back. We don't have anything use. So we're done with you. You want to get out?" And I said, "Yeah."
All right.
Where do I sign?
All right. Yeah. So by end of what was that? End of '69.
Yeah.
End of '69, you're out of the military. And then you moved over directly or no?
No, I went back up to upstate New York, and I hung out there for a while, and I'm living in this place with I got married, and I'm living in this place with a bunch of people, and one of my roommates' ex-girlfriend shows up, and her friend and I go back to 9th grade, and she goes, "Don't we know each other?" And I said, "Yeah," and she said, What are you doing?" I said, "I don't know, I just got out of the military," and she said, "You need to come to Colorado." And they were living up in Camp Francis up there in Carolina, which is at the end of 4 Mile. And when you go out towards that, you take 4 Mile anyway. So they lived out there, and they were living totally off the grid. And so Round and I jumped in our truck and drove out here, and here we are.
Oh, by the way, so I've got there's note cards going around. I've got a few. When you have a few at a table, collect them together and bring them up here. We're gonna make some time for questions, so we've got about 20 minutes left. But you're not done. So you leave from Vietnam, or leave after Vietnam, but you're not done with the military. So you're.
You have you have 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay, active and inactive. So I had 2 years of inactive still. They would not have been able to find me. I was up in the middle of the mountains. They couldn't have found me. And so all of my stuff, all of my stuff from the Marine Corps, they sent it to my mom and dad's house because that's my address of entry. So I never even saw that stuff until my parents died. Quite honestly, some of it was, and my dad died in 2001, and so I finally went back to to the house with my mom and helped her. I'm looking at it and something, and I still left it. I never even touched it. So when my mom died, I have 4 sisters. They sent me all my shit, and so I get these boxes, and I didn't even know it was in there.
So tell me about so you come back. You're on a flight, I presume, coming back to the U.S. So what's going through your mind there? What are you thinking?
Wow. I don't even know. I mean, I feel like when I left, and it's different than I don't know how the deployment is now. I don't know if everybody leaves and with their unit and comes back. You know, he and I both went over alone and came home alone. You know, I didn't know anybody on the plane that I was flying home with. I didn't know anybody on the plane that I flew over there with. And you know, the interesting part is, the plane took off out of Da Nang, you know, and it was a brand new plane. It was, and I do remember that, and it was yellow. And you guys don't even remember, but the brand of ridiculous sexist bullshit that we do. You know? And but anyway, I do remember that. You could hear a pin drop from the top. You would think everybody would be applauding and going, "I'm out of here." You could hear a pin drop, and I was like, that blew my mind. That you can say that. And I had nothing to say. I wasn't in the chair. You know. Just before I got ready to leave, I had this guy. His name was Brew. His name's Joe Brew. We call him Brew. And he was on the second shore when I got there. And he, so when I got there, I had to be a gunner for another crew chief, so I could learn the ropes before I could get my own good, because I got flown in combat. Anyway, so he was my guy. I spent my time with Joe, probably 5 or 6 weeks, and then I got my own plane. And then in February 4th of '69, we were both getting out and coming home in March. And he came up to me one morning and he goes, "Hey, you know," he said, "I need some flight time. My bird's down and to get my flight paid. We had to have so many hours of flight time to get our $50 a month flight pay. And we got $50 for the accounting pay too a month. And that's big money. Anyway, so he comes to me and goes, "Can I pick your bird up today and get some flight time?" I said, "Yeah." They had a mid-air, everybody was good. That was hard one. That was hard one. That's a good thing. Should have been me. But that's where we go, and that's the, you know, that I'm not saying that that's right. I'm just saying
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. So, what else?
So we've got a lot of questions. So there's a bunch of questions actually sort of on the same theme. Either asking like, if you could do it all over, would you still join the Marine Corps, or would you ever recommend anybody to join the military?
No, and no, and no. No. No.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a hard one. I mean, it's I don't know. I think you should ask other, you know, people that have been in and see what they say, and yeah, I mean, I have a piece like this in front of my house, okay, and my car in front has green tags. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You go down to my desk, my desk in my office. Half of it's crystals, and half of it's pictures of my pets.
Yeah.
Okay. It's both of them. You know, the energy work that I've done, and you know, I'm totally a plant medicine guy. I've been doing plant medicine since I've been home. That's all I do. I've been a veggie since Vietnam. I ran one of the largest natural foods companies. Everything you see in the Whole Foods comes from a company that we founded in Denver in 1973. You know, so that's been my passion. That's what I've done. My adult career. You know, is you know, take care of myself and share that kind of stuff. This is what we need to do. We don't need to do this. That's why I come talk to these classes. It's not. I'm not. You make up your own mind, but you need to hear the other side of it. You need to see what it's like for those of us that have, you know, killed people in the name of whatever. Not fun. And they never leave you. Okay. You know, I have a friend here who lives in Colorado, and he went into this village with his platoon, and they were ordered to take that village out, and they did. And he and I, we talked about this. There was probably a 4 or 5-year-old that he took out. Besides the grandparents and the parents and everybody else. Okay? That little girl's with him every day. Nobody understands that if you haven't done it. So somebody's telling you to go do that. Stop and think about it and feel it. Is that what you want to do? At the end of the day, put your head on the pillow and you're going to sleep and you haven't gotten shit-faced. You're clean. What do you think? Just normally, without even being offended, think of the shit you think about. Think about how you talk to yourself. Think of that chatter. Okay? We all have it. Nobody talks to you the way you talk to you. All right? So how do you do that? So I've been doing energy work. I do that kind of stuff. I put myself out to work with veterans and do a coaching program. I actually do this shit. And so it's important that we all do this. It's not just me, it's you. It's not just veterans, it's just humans. We culturally, we're weird. We're on these things, we don't interact. We need community, guys. And so my community has been changed my life. And I like me. I can look at myself now and like me. I never could look at my face and go and love me.
So there's a bunch of questions about how you felt people met you when you came back. Horrible. So is that elaborate on that?
Yeah. So
both family and people you didn't.
Everybody. I mean, I didn't ever have anybody spit on me or yell at me or anything. I flew into SFO, San Francisco. Okay, and then I got on a plane, and I don't even know how I got from Okinawa to there. I don't remember if I was on an airline or military plane. I don't know. Don't remember. So then I get there, and so it was a pretty quick turnover into the next plane to go to Chicago. I got to Chicago. I had to wait all night. So they had these little machines back in the day to put quarters in to watch TV. So I just sat there and watched TV. Got on a plane, flew into Syracuse, called up my uncle, and he took me to lunch and put me on a train. And I got off the train to where my dad worked, and I walked in and I got my duffel bag over my shoulder. Nobody knows. I talked to them one time in 2.5 years. One time.
To your family?
Yeah. When I got better back to the Philippines, they actually had a payphone, and I called them select, and they accepted it and talked. That was it. So they didn't know I was coming home. Nothing. So I show up. I walk in. My dad's at work, and a couple of the guys that work with him go, "Hey, your son's here." Blah blah blah. We hugged. We went out. We got hammered. And that was it. Never said, "How are you? What did you do?" Happy you're home. I walked in the house. Same thing with my mom. Same thing with my 4 sisters. Actually, 2 of my sisters wrote letters for me to go to see if I had any pension or compensation to the VA. They wrote letters, these kind of letters, and I read those letters and I go, who wrote these? My fucking sisters. Telling that I was, I screaming in the middle of the night, I was yelling at my mom and dad. I don't remember any of that shit.
Do you think it didn't happen?
I don't know. I've asked them. And, and one says yes and one says no. So, and the other 2 don't, they're like, they won't say a word. I have a picture of me, though, that was taken about 6 months after I got home. And I just found it, probably in the last year or 2. And I standing in the hallway of my parents' house, between the living room and the dining room, and I'm in the hallway, and I have this 1,000-foot stare that I kept because I needed to see that. And I mean, it was an empty human standing there. And so we've never talked about this shit. Most veterans never talk about this. They'll never tell you that. And of course they don't. He roasts my nuts. And I'm the pink Marine. I'm the guy who talks to everybody. I'm the guy who just tells it like it is. I'm gonna, because I think we need to know it.
So there's actually a question that kind of nicely builds on top of that. So we often think of the Vietnam War as somehow really different from America's other wars. Do you think the veteran experience for Vietnam vets is really different for the experience for vets of other wars or later wars, especially since you know a lot of vets of other wars as well, especially the later ones?
Well, because I think the difference is that World War II, the greatest generation, so they won the war, so they were the heroes. And then Korea was kind of similar to Vietnam, but not quite as intense. Vietnam, because it was so long, and I think towards the end, towards the 71, 72, I think they started seeing things differently. I think Ken Burns really puts it in a most amazing way. I think that series to me just blew me away.
There's a lot of good footage there.
There was a lot of good footage there. And so I think that because we kept thinking that it was Ho Chi Minh all the time, and so I think that once people, here's an interesting thing, I get together with a bunch of guys every Saturday morning. We get together for breakfast. We've been doing it for, I don't know how long, 10 years or so. Most of us have started off as Vietnam. Here are people, we have a lot of different generations showing up now with us. And one of our really good friends, and he was a corpsman in Vietnam. Corpsman is different than a medic because the corpsman's a Navy guy who's assigned to the Marine Corps. Anyway, so he turns us onto a book, maybe a year ago, a year and a half ago, called The Gangsters of Capitalism. And so I read that book, and so all of us read that book. And the guy who turned us onto the book, who really believed in the war, and all of a sudden he went, wait a minute, it was about palm oil and rubber. And I went, good noticing. But so the book really is about, and it's about a brain, and it takes place in the 1870s, 1880s, and they're doing the same thing. They're in Guantanamo, they're in Cuba, they're in Puerto Rico, they're in Netherlands, they're in the Dominican Republic, Haiti, all this in Panama, doing the same thing that I was doing when I was there in '67. And I'm going, pretty curious. We're still doing that shit. So that really, I think, it made us realize that the war was really wrong one.
So did you encounter any of that, like, while you were in Vietnam? Did people talk like that about?
Vietnamese people tried to tell us that, but I didn't speak Vietnamese, so I was. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting how once you see it, how quickly you see it. But up until then, hey, listen, you're watching, what are you watching? Walter Cronkite, and who's telling you what's going on in the world? So do we believe it? I mean, come on, we still have the same shit going on today. Didn't change. Hopefully it will with you guys.
So let's see. Do we have more cards coming up?
I have a question. I could write it down if you want to, but
You can just say it.
would you say that you're anti-capitalism now because of your experiences?
No, I'm not anti anything. I really believe that there's one of my favorite pictures and it was really propaganda as well, but it's a pretty amazing picture. Was I saw Dwight Eisenhower and JFK walking together having a conversation. Okay, two really different people. I mean, Eisenhower came back a little different after he spent his time in the war. He saw through some of that stuff. But I mean, I really think that all of it's important, but we don't sit down and talk to each other. We get pissed off when we want to take the other person out because they don't agree with what I believe in. I think that if we sat down and had a conversation, we could run a pretty healthy. We got the World Bank running money all around the world. Not to say capitalism is wrong. It's saying that we got people that are bullies running their shit. So how do we change that? I don't know. Hopefully you guys will figure it out. But I think that I don't know. What's your feeling?
I think that capitalism is the cause of most of the world's evils.
Yeah. But don't you think that we don't have what's that?
I think
this could get. We're gonna call. We're gonna. I do have one question, a closing question. Well, bring it over.
So I was just curious. My grandfather was a veteran from Korea, and he always told me to, when I encounter Vietnam veterans, say, "Welcome home." Like, what are your thoughts on being thanked for your service and like being told welcome home?
We hate it. We hate it.
So explain why.
So it's almost like when you say thank you for your service, it's an end statement. It's not an engaging statement. It's saying thank you for your service. Please don't say a fucking word to me. That's how we see it. Okay? I would rather have nothing than thank you for your service. And I won't say anything. I mean, somebody comes up and thank me, I'll say thank you. I'm not going to be. Believe me, these guys have helped me to get rid of some of my asshole shit, and be a little nicer. But it's insulting, when we see each other and we know that we're fellow Vietnam vets. Hug. Welcome home. I never got welcome home. I mean, nobody ever talked to me. I hung out with my uncles. I had 3 uncles that were World War II vets. Never said a word.
So what do you think people should know? If thank you for your service is not the thing to do. How would you wish for people to meet Vietnam vets or other vets or?
I don't wear anything to get that I don't know that. I don't care.
But if you come if we're chit chatting and I mean you're an acquaintance, I don't really know you, but we're like I don't know you, we're colleagues or something.
I'm not going to get if somebody says thank you for your service. I'm going to go. This person doesn't know any better. It's just the culture that you say that.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but is there a good way for people to sort of acknowledge the veteran status of
We
somebody
usually say
without
welcome home because we know that we have a big welcome home. And so to have that welcome home, I mean, it's just interesting how we think about things. You weren't around. All the stuff in the newspapers, everything was about, the war, not the war, the marching against the war, all the music. We lived in a place where everybody was up to record.
to be fair,
Small Fatty was David Crosby. But, it's that different world. My buddy, he was a DEA. I'm a pot dealer, he's a DEA, and we're not friends.